Hi there, welcome to part 2 of Colosseum on Centurions. Centurions is a documentary series where we feature man-made things that have lasted over 100 years. This week, we pick up the story of the Colosseum. In recent years, the Colosseum has become a symbol of the international campaign against capital punishment, which was abolished in Italy in 1948. Several anti-death penalty demonstrations took place in front of the Colosseum in 2000. Since that time, as a gesture against the death penalty, the local authorities of Rome changed the color of the Colosseum's nighttime illumination from white to gold whenever a person condemned to the death penalty anywhere in the world gets their sentence commuted or is released, or if a jurisdiction abolishes the death penalty. Most recently, the Colosseum was illuminated in gold in November of 2012, following the abolishment of capital punishment in the American state of Connecticut in April 2012. Because of the ruined state of the interior, it is impractical to use the Colosseum to host large events. Only a few hundred spectators can be accommodated in temporary sitting. However, much larger concerts have been held just outside, using the Colosseum as a backdrop. Performers who have played at the Colosseum in recent years have included Ray Charles in May 2002, Paul McCartney May 2003, Sir Elton John September 2005, and Billy Joel in July of 2006. Unlike Roman theaters that were built into hillsides, the Colosseum is an entirely freestanding structure. It derives its basic exterior and interior architecture from that of two theaters back to back. It is elliptical in plan and is 615 feet long and 510 feet wide, with a base area of 24,000 square meters. The height of the outer wall is 157 feet. The perimeter originally measured 1,788 feet. The central arena is an ellipse that is 287 feet long and 180 feet wide, surrounded by a wall that is 15 feet high, above which rose tiers of seating. The outer wall is estimated to have required over 3.5 million cubic feet of travertine stone, which were set without mortar. They were held together by 300 tons of iron clamps. However, it has suffered extensive damage over the centuries, with large segments having collapsed following earthquakes. The north side of the perimeter wall is still standing. The distinctive triangular brick wedges at each end are modern additions, having been constructed in the early 19th century to shore up the wall. The remainder of the present-day exterior of the Colosseum is in fact the original interior wall. The surviving part of the outer wall's monumental facade comprises 3 superposed stories surmounted by a podium on which stands a tall attic, both of which are pierced by windows interspersed at regular intervals. The arcades are framed by half columns of the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian orders, while the attic is decorated with Corinthians plasters. Each of the arches in the second and third floor arcades framed statues, probably honoring divinities and other figures from classical mythology. 240 mass corbels were positioned around the top of the attic. They originally supported a retractable awning known as the velarium that kept the sun and rain of spectators. This consisted of a canvas-covered net-like structure made of ropes with a hole in the center. It covered 2/3 of the arena and sloped down towards the center to catch the wind and provide a breeze for the audience. Sailors, specially enlisted from the Roman naval headquarters in Misenum and housed in the nearby Castra Missenatium, were used to work the velarium. The Colosseum's huge crowd capacity made it essential that the venue could be filled or evacuated quickly. Its architects adopted solutions very similar to those used in modern stadia to deal with the same problem. The amphitheater was ringed by 80 entrances at ground level, 76 which were used by ordinary spectators. Each entrance and exit was numbered, as was each staircase. The northern main entrance was reserved for the Roman emperor and his aides, whilst the other 3 axial entrances were most likely used by the elite. All 4 axial entrances were richly decorated with painted stucco reliefs, of which fragments survive. Many of the original outer entrances have disappeared with the collapse of the perimeter wall, but entrances 23 to 54 still survive. Spectators were given tickets in the form of numbered ported charts, which directed them to the appropriate section and row. They accessed their seats via passageways that opened into a tier of seats from below or behind. These quickly dispersed people into their seats, and upon conclusion of the event or in an emergency evacuation could permit their exit within only a few minutes. The name vomitoria derived from the Latin word for a rapid discharge, from which English derives the word vomit. According to the Codex Calendar of 354, the Colosseum could accommodate 87,000 people, although modern estimates put the figure at around 50,000. Special boxes were provided at the north and south ends, respectively, for the Emperor and the Vestal Virgins, providing the best views of the arena. The Colosseum and its activities supported a substantial industry in the area. In addition to the amphitheater itself, many other buildings nearby were linked to the games. Immediately to the east is the remains of the Ludus Magnus, a training school for gladiators. This was connected to the Colosseum by an underground passage to allow easy access for the gladiators. The Ludus Magnus had its own miniature training arena, which was itself a popular attraction for Roman spectators. Other training schools were in the same area, including the Ludus Matutinus, meaning morning school where fighters of animals were trained, plus the Dacian and Gallic schools. Around the perimeter of the Colosseum, at a distance of 59 feet from the perimeter, was a series of tall stone posts, with 5 remaining on the eastern side. Various explanations have been advanced for their presence. They may have been a religious boundary, or an outer boundary for ticket checks, or an anchor for the velarium or awning. The Colosseum was used to host gladiatorial shows as well as a variety of other events. The shows, called munera, were always given by private individuals rather than the state. They had a strong religious element, but were also demonstrations of power and family prestige, and were immensely popular. Another major attraction was the animal hunt, or the venatio. This utilized a great variety of wild beasts, mainly imported from Africa and the Middle East, and included such creatures such as rhinoceros, hippopotamuses, elephants, giraffes, wisents, Barbary lions, panthers, leopards, bears, Caspian tiger, crocodiles, and ostriches. Battles and hunts were often staged amid elaborate sets with movable trees and buildings. These events could be huge in scale. Trajan is said to have celebrated his victories in Dacia in 107 with contests involving 11,000 animals and 10,000 gladiators over the course of 123 days. During the days of the Colosseum, ancient writers recorded that the building was used for simulated sea battles. Accounts of the inaugural games held by Titus in AD 80 described it being filled with water for a display of specially trained swimming horses and bulls. There is also an account of a reenactment of a famous sea battle between the Corcyraean Greeks and the Corinthians. This has been the subject of some debate amongst historians, although providing the water would not have been a problem. It is unclear how the arena could have been waterproofed, nor would there have been enough space in the arena for the warships to move around. The Colosseum today is a major tourist attraction in Rome, with thousands of tourists each year entering to view the interior arena. This is now a museum dedicated to Eros in the upper floor of the outer wall of the building. Part of the arena floor has been reinstated. Beneath the Colosseum is a network of subterranean passageways once used to transport wild animals and gladiators to the arena were opened to the public in the summer of 2010. The Colosseum is also the site of Roman Catholic ceremonies in the 20th and 21st centuries. For instance, Pope Benedict XVI led the Stations of the Cross called the Scriptural Way of the Cross at the Colosseum on Good Fridays. In 2011, Diego Della Valle, head of the shoe firm Tod's, entered into an agreement with local officials to sponsor a €25 million restoration of the Colosseum. Work was planned to begin at the end of 2011, taking up to 2.5 years. Due to the controversial nature of using a public-private partnership to fund the restoration, work was delayed and began in 2013. The restoration is the first full cleaning and repair in the Colosseum's history. The first stage is to clean and restore the Colosseum's arcaded facade and replace the metal enclosures that block the ground level arches. After 3 years, the work was completed on the 1st of July 2016, when the Italian Minister of Culture, Dario Franceschini, also announced that the funds have been committed to replace the floors by the end of 2018. These will provide a stage that Franceschini says will be used for cultural events of the highest level. The project also includes creating a services center and restoring the galleries and underground spaces inside the Colosseum. Since the 1st of November 2017, the top 2 levels have been open for guided visits. The 4th level held the marketplace, and the top 5th tier is where the poorest citizens, the plebeians, gathered and watched the show, bringing picnics for the day-long events. In the Middle Ages, the Colosseum was not regarded as a monument and was used as what modern sources label a quarry, which is to say that stones from the Colosseum were taken for the building of other sacred sites. The fact is used to support the idea that at a time when sites associated with martyrs were highly venerated, the Colosseum was not being treated as a sacred site. A century later, Fioravante Martellini listed the Colosseum at the head of a list of places sacred to martyrs in his 1653 book, Roma ex Ethnica Sacra. The Colosseum has a wide and well-documented history of flora ever since Domenico Panaroli made the first catalogue of its plants in 1643. Since then, 684 species have been identified there. The variation of plants can be explained by the change of climate in Rome through the centuries. Additionally, bird migration, flower blooming, and the growth of Rome that caused the Colosseum to become embedded within the modern city center rather than on the outskirts of the ancient city, as well as deliberate transport of species, are also contributing causes. Thank you so much for watching this second part of the Colosseum story right here on the Centurions. Please subscribe, like, and share. My name is Dmitri. Thank you for watching and see you next time.